We have our inclusion team assembled. Now let's decide who will deliver the first ability awareness workshop to your students. Before you answer, remember that this is not a disability studies class. You don't have to be an expert.
I'm here today because we are going to the playground tomorrow, right? Yes.
These workshops are simply perception conversations, giving us a baseline of student understanding and increasing awareness of the common ground all students share.
Why else is play important?
Because like children, if they play sports, so when they stretch their muscles out so they could exercise.
Yes, it's fun, right?
Through these exercises, you will identify the general education students' thoughts and feelings towards their peers with disabilities. Challenge the perceptions and assumptions that the students may have, guiding the conversation towards connecting their definitions and feelings to common misconceptions. Show the students a day in the life DVD that illustrates the common ground that they share with students with disabilities. And finally, provide them with real tools for their interactions with their peers with disabilities, focusing on supporting the communication challenges, physical challenges, and sensory challenges that exist on your campus. Everyone has a response to seeing someone who we consider different from us.
Anybody feel nervous when you see someone in a wheelchair? Or nervous if you see someone who might be behaving differently, like hand flapping, right? If you see anybody do that, does that make you feel nervous? Raise your hand if you feel nervous when you see that different behavior. Yeah.
John watches Sam flap his hands vigorously when he's on the playground. If he doesn't find out why Sam flaps his hands, he won't get over being afraid of a different way of communicating. He'll make assumptions and take actions based on that discomfort, potentially avoiding or teasing Sam. To get past fears about differences, students first need a safe space to state their feelings and thoughts. In your inclusive play guide, find the sheet that says Disability Questionnaire.
So I'm going to give out a free write. It's going to have 3 simple questions on it. And I'm going to read through it for you, okay? Just so you know what it's about, and if you have a question, then you can ask me before you start, okay?
While doing this exercise with your students, we recommend a word capture along with it. On your board, draw a big circle. On the outside, draw lines leading out from the circle. You can do the questionnaire as a group verbally, or you can have your students write out their responses individually before discussing as a group. Question 1. What does the word disability mean?
Yes, in the way back.
To have the ability to do something.
Don't have the ability to do something. Okay.
Most students simply break down the word unable, can't do. Many identify visible differences. Can't walk, can't talk. As they share, write key phrases and definitions on the lines outside the circle. As you explore can't walk, can't talk, you can connect them to physical differences or cognitive differences. Those are all referenced throughout the Buddy Guidelines. Question 2.
When I see someone in a wheelchair, I feel.
See a person in a wheelchair, I feel sad.
Yes, I get that a lot. Why do you feel sad?
They could walk and they can't.
Oh, okay.
Common student responses are sad, bad, uncomfortable, afraid, weird, and grateful for their abilities. Write these key words on the lines, asking the students to expand on their responses. Our definitions inform our feelings. Why do you feel sad? It will help tease out what they really are feeling and what misconceptions or assumptions are underneath. For example, someone in a wheelchair can't do anything. Therefore, I feel sad. Question 3. Do you know someone with a disability? If yes, share if you want to.
Someone who might use a wheelchair, someone who might communicate differently, someone who has autism.
This question gives us a sense of each student's past experience.
I met this kid like in a wheelchair with a computer because he was born like sick.
He had an illness that affected his body in a way that he wasn't able to use his voice to communicate, right? So he used a computer.
Now that we know our thoughts and feelings, let's explore some of the assumptions they lead us to. Go to your guide and pull out the Watch Out It's Catching activity description and cards. Keep this light, fun, and fast-paced, using positive reinforcement to support students when they don't know the answers. Here's how you do it. Step 1. Review the cards and pick 5 or 6 that are most reflective of the students with disabilities on your campus. For example, Down syndrome or autism. Each represents common misconceptions for a range of disabilities. Step 2. Pick 10 to 12 children and form 2 teams. Step 3. Let them know you are going to share disability statements and they have to decide if they are true or false. Whoever has the answer first hits the buzzer. The audience gets to weigh in with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Bring your first 2 contestants up and let them sort out the truth. The answer to each statement is on the back of the card. Each card provides valuable talking points to prepare students for their interactions on the playground.
People who use wheelchairs can't drive cars. True or false?
True.
Okay, he says people who use wheelchairs can't drive cars. Guess what, boys and girls? Some can and some can't. Remember, we just talked about that.
If we have a friend using a wheelchair on the playground, can we assume that they need to be pushed? What if they can push themselves? What can we do to find out? Observe our buddy and ask. For the next exercise, we've got our education DVD. This is one of the most powerful tools for the first workshop. It shows 3 students with cognitive, physical, and sensory differences. Showing children with disabilities in life and at play helps students who are typically developing identify with their lives, building the first step toward a shared identity. You can play it all at once or stop after each segment to discuss. Either way, once the DVD is finished, go back to the word capture circle on the board.
Let's talk about Spencer. What are your thoughts on Spencer?
He's cool.
Why is he cool? What makes you, you're right, he is very cool. Give me an example of coolness.
Because he knows how to. He's like an artist.
He is an artist. Is there anybody else who is an artist in this classroom? Has something in common? Yeah, you have something in common with Spencer, right? Yeah. Anything surprise you about his abilities?
As a group, pick 1 or 2 of the kids on the DVD and have your students describe him or her with a word or a phrase. We ask them to reflect on each child and find words to describe him or her. Some typical responses include awesome, strong, athlete, artist, loves to laugh, good at sports, happy. Write these words in the center of your circle on the board and reflect on the differences between those on the outside, your students' initial reactions to disability, and those on the inside, your students' reactions after getting to know each child on the DVD.
Are these words the same?
No.
What are different about them?
After reading both sets of words back to your students, some of the key questions we ask are, these 2 sets of words feel different to me. What do you think? What makes them different? Common responses include, inside the circle is positive, outside more sad. Inside the circle describes who they really are. Outside describes how we feel.
The outside are not they will seem offensive to them, and the ones in the inside of the circle, I think the kids with disabilities would like.
These words on the inside, which are more positive, like you said, are actually the way people with disabilities are.
The closing reflection is, outside the circle were the students' feelings and thoughts about disabilities before they met someone with a disability. Inside the circle are their impressions after meeting the kids. Often we notice differences between us and stop there, without getting to know each other and discover what we have in common. Your time on the playground or at recess with your buddies will give you the chance to connect and really get to know your buddies for who they are on the inside, just like we got to know the kids on the DVD. After we've explored attitudes and beliefs, it's time to get down to preparing the students to play. In your guide, locate the Buddy Guidelines. These address some very common basic questions that students without disabilities often have. If my buddy doesn't use words, How do I talk to him? If my buddy doesn't talk, how do I know he's having fun? If my buddy doesn't walk, can I push her wheelchair? If my buddy doesn't talk, can he understand me?
Any questions about the day? Yes.
Can we play with also our friends?
Sure, how about you try buddy groups first? So if you're in a buddy group different than a friend from in here, why don't your two buddy groups eat together?
Yeah.
Try that, okay?
All of these questions are normal and part of the experience. The guidelines give you a chance to focus on what words and behaviors are respectful and are going to promote interaction, trust, and engagement. It also gives your students tips and tools on how to engage with children who move, speak, and think differently. Review them a few times yourself and with your students before they interact. You've done the exercises with your students. Now that everyone is excited and prepared, it's time to play. Our next 4 chapters take us to the playground and show how to facilitate inclusive play, step by step. Before we move on, here's a summary of this section's information.